The espresso machine hissed like a cornered snake. Danielle Marrow ignored it, keeping her eyes fixed on the legal papers spread across the table. Across from her, Evan Caldwell's foot tapped against the concrete floor of Say Coffee. Tap tap tap. Like a timer counting down. Sign it, Danny. His voice was too calm. Fake calm. The kind that came right before an explosion. The merger happens Friday. The NDA protects us both. Danielle didn't look up. No. Evan's tapping stopped. Excuse me? I said no. Now she met his eyes. I'm not going to jail for your family's fraud, Evan. The cafe buzzed with morning customers. A barista called out orders. Nobody noticed the storm brewing at table 7. You think you have a choice? Evan leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. Your name's on half those documents. If I go down, you go down harder. Danielle's fingers brushed the voice recorder in her purse. Already running. I didn't cook the books. You did. You were the accountant. His smile didn't reach his eyes. They'll bury you, Danny. In the corner, a Korean man in a charcoal suit lowered his newspaper slightly. His eyes locked on their table. Beside him sat a Belgian Malinois, perfectly still, amber eyes watching. I have the encryption keys, Evan. Danielle kept her voice level. I have proof of what your father did. What you continued. The color drained from Evan's face. His hand tightened around his coffee cup. You wouldn't dare. I already did. The FBI has copies. You lying. Evan stood up, coffee cup in hand. His eyes weren't human anymore. They were pure rage. Danielle saw it coming but couldn't move fast enough. The coffee left his hand. The hot liquid arced through the air. Time slowed down as it hit her face. Not a splash, a wave of burning pain across her left cheek and neck. The shock stole her breath for 1 second before she screamed, hands flying to protect her burning skin. Chairs scraped. People looked up. Nobody moved. Evan stood over her, empty cup still in his hand, breathing hard. His face twisted into something ugly, satisfaction. He opened his mouth to say more. Then came the crash. A blur of tan and black fur launched across the cafe. Not a bark, not a growl, just sudden, violent motion. The dog hit Evan square in the chest, slamming him onto the concrete floor with a sickening thud. Evan screamed as the wind left his lungs. The Malinois stood over him, front paws pressing Evan's shoulders into the ground, teeth bared inches from his throat. A low, vibrating growl filled the sudden silence. Baron. Giderio. The voice was calm. Almost bored. The Korean man from the corner approached slowly, stepping over a spilled latte. He stopped beside Danielle, glancing down at Evan with cold disinterest before checking his watch. Good boy, he said to the dog. Then he turned to Danielle. She was shaking, pressing napkins to her burning face. Her skin was already turning an angry red. He extended his hand, not to help her up, but offering a silk handkerchief from his breast pocket. Ms. Marrow. His voice was smooth. Controlled. Put this on the burn. Paper napkins will stick to the wound. Danielle stared up at him, tears blurring her vision. Who are you? Park Joon-seok. He didn't smile. I believe you're now available for a job interview. This isn't some fairy tale rescue, and Joon-seok isn't Prince Charming. He's something much more dangerous. If you want to see how dark this really gets, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, back to Danielle, who's about to make the worst, or best, decision of her life. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. The cafe manager handed Danielle an ice pack while customers recorded everything on their phones. "Come with me," Joon-seok said, "not a question." "Before the media arrives." Danielle pressed the ice against her burning skin. "I need to file a police report." "Already being handled." Joon-seok nodded toward two men in suits who had appeared by the door, taking witness statements. "My security team." Baron hadn't moved. His teeth remained inches from Evan's throat. Evan didn't dare breathe. "Call off your dog," Danielle said. Joon-seok studied her face. "Not until you're safely in my car." "Why would I go anywhere with you?" "Because Evan just committed assault in front of 17 witnesses and 8 security cameras." Joon-seok's eyes were dark, unreadable. "That voids your prenuptial agreement. The one that kept you silent about his family's fraud." Danielle's heart skipped. "How do you know about?" "I need the encryption keys, Ms. Marrow." His voice dropped. "Evan's father is hiding debt. I'm buying their company tomorrow. If I don't know what I'm buying, I lose millions." Understanding dawned on Danielle. This wasn't an accident. "You were waiting for this." Joon-seok didn't deny it. 5 minutes in my car. Hear my offer. Then decide." He extended his hand again, this time to help her up. Danielle looked at Evan, still pinned beneath Baron's weight, fury in his eyes. Then back to Joon-seok, this stranger who knew too much and showed too little. "Baron," Joon-seok said softly. "Release." The dog instantly backed away from Evan, moving to Joon-seok's side. Evan scrambled to his feet, hand clutching his bleeding arm where Baron's teeth had broken skin. "You're dead, Danny," Evan spat. "You hear me? Dead." Joon-seok didn't even look at him. His eyes stayed locked on Danielle, waiting for her answer. She touched her burning cheek. 5 years of marriage had taught her what Evan was capable of. But this man, this cold, calculating stranger who let her get burned to free her from a legal trap, what was he capable of? Danielle took his hand. The SUV door slammed shut, cutting off the noise from the street. Inside, the air smelled of leather and expensive cologne. Danielle pressed the ice pack harder against her face, the pain throbbing in time with her racing heart. Baron sat in the front passenger seat, his amber eyes watching her in the rearview mirror. The driver, a silent man in a black suit, pulled away from the curb without waiting for instructions. Joon-seok tapped something on his tablet, seemingly unbothered by the fact that a woman with second-degree burns sat beside him. "Why were you there?" Danielle finally asked, her voice hoarse. "At the cafe?" Joon-seok didn't look up. "I had business to discuss with you." "No." Danielle turned to face him. "You were already there." "Before I arrived." "Waiting." The SUV stopped at a red light. Outside, Brooklyn continued as if nothing had happened. As if her life hadn't just exploded. Joon-seok set his tablet down and finally looked at her. His face was impossible to read. "Yes. I was waiting." "For what?" "For Evan to make a mistake." His voice was matter-of-fact. "A mistake big enough to void your prenuptial agreement." The ice pack trembled in Danielle's hand. "You knew he would attack me?" "I calculated a 76% chance he would become physically aggressive if you refused the NDA." Joon-seok's eyes never left hers. "My risk assessment team has been monitoring his behavior patterns for months." Something cold and hard settled in Danielle's stomach. "You saw him grab that coffee cup?" "Yes." "And you waited?" A pause. 5 seconds. "Yes." Danielle stared at him, the truth sinking in. "You let him burn me." "I let him commit a felony in a public space with high-definition security cameras," Joon-seok said, as if explaining simple math to a child. "Before that cup left his hand, you were trapped in a legal battle you couldn't afford to fight. Now, the prenuptial agreement is void due to criminal assault. You are free, Ms. Marrow. I'm burned, she snapped. You are alive, he countered. And you will be wealthy. Or you could be. Joon-seok reached into a mini-fridge built into the console and handed her a bottle of water. He cracked the seal before giving it to her, a small gesture that shouldn't have mattered but somehow did. I need those encryption keys, he continued. Evan's father buried debt that doesn't appear on any official records. If I buy Caldwell Pharmaceuticals blind, I lose millions. If you give me access, I will destroy the Caldwell legacy, and you get 5% of the acquisition price. Danielle took a long drink of water, letting the cold liquid soothe her throat while her mind raced. This wasn't a rescue. It was a business transaction. And she was just another asset. When she lowered the bottle, something had changed in her eyes. The shock was gone, replaced by something harder. No, she said. Joon-seok's eyebrows rose slightly. No. 10%, Danielle said, her voice steady despite the pain radiating from her cheek. I want 10% of the acquisition price. And full immunity from any legal fallout when the fraud is exposed. Ms. Marrow. And Baron, she added, glancing at the dog. I want him outside my apartment until Evan is in prison. Not just detained. In prison. Silence filled the car. Joon-seok studied her with new interest, as if seeing her for the first time. He'd expected tears, gratitude, maybe fear. Not this cold calculation that mirrored his own. You understand I could simply take the keys, he said softly. Your apartment isn't secure. You could try, Danielle replied. But the keys aren't in my apartment. And they're encrypted with a passphrase only I know. A lie, but a necessary one. So we can work together, or you can waste time breaking into empty hard drives while Evan's lawyers build a defense. For the first time, the corner of Joon-seok's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but something close to approval. 8%, he countered. 10, she repeated. And a written contract. Signed now. In the front seat, Baron let out a soft whine, his ears suddenly alert. Joon-seok glanced at the dog, a slight furrow appearing between his brows. Baron doesn't like when I negotiate, he said, though something in his tone suggested that wasn't entirely true. The SUV turned onto the bridge heading into Manhattan, leaving Brooklyn behind. Danielle's old life was receding with each mile. Joon-seok tapped the partition glass. The driver looked back. Change of plans, Joon-seok said. Take us to the office first. He turned back to Danielle and extended his hand. 10%. Full immunity. Baron at your door until Caldwell is in prison. Danielle looked at his hand. Everything in her training as a forensic accountant screamed that this was wrong, making deals with strangers, trusting someone who had just admitted to using her pain as a strategy. But then she remembered Evan's face as he threw that coffee. The satisfaction in his eyes. 5 years of gaslighting, of threats, of control. She took Joon-seok's hand. His grip was firm, cool, and dangerous. We have a deal, she said. In the front seat, Baron whined again, louder this time. His amber eyes never left Danielle's face. The SUV accelerated into Manhattan traffic. Danielle touched her burned cheek, the skin hot and tight under her fingers. The pain was still there, but now it felt like something else too. A price. She just traded one devil for another. The difference was, this time she knew exactly what she was getting into. Or so she thought. The lock on Danielle's apartment door clicked 3 times before she pushed it open. Home. Except it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a target. The small one-bedroom in Crown Heights was exactly as she'd left it that morning, Coffee mug in the sink, laptop closed on the counter, blinds half drawn. Before today, her biggest worry had been making rent. Now she had a Korean billionaire and his attack dog as bodyguards. Speaking of the dog, Baron padded into the apartment ahead of her, nose twitching as he swept each room. Joon-seok stood in the doorway, watching the Malinois work. He's checking for intruders, Joon-seok explained, seeing Danielle's confusion. He's trained to detect human presence within the last hour. The dog returned to the front door, sitting at attention. All clear. Joon-seok nodded, satisfied. He pulled a sleek black case from inside his jacket and set it on her kitchen counter. What's that? Danielle asked. Medical supplies. He opened the case, revealing neatly organized bandages and tubes. The ice helped, but you need proper treatment. Danielle touched her cheek, wincing. The burning had dulled to a constant throb. I can handle it. You can't see the back of your own neck, Joon-seok countered. His tone wasn't gentle, but it wasn't as cold as before. Sit. Danielle hesitated, then sat at one of the kitchen stools. Joon-seok washed his hands at her sink, movements precise, then pulled on latex gloves. This will sting, he warned, opening a tube of clear gel. His fingers were surprisingly gentle as they applied the cooling gel to her cheek. For someone who had calculated her pain as a business strategy, he took remarkable care not to hurt her now. Evan will post bail in 3 hours, Joon-seok said, working methodically. My legal team is pushing for a restraining order, but his family has connections with the judge. Danielle stiffened. He's getting out today? Yes. Joon-seok's eyes met hers. That's why Baron stays. He doesn't sleep when he's on duty. The dog's ears perked up at his name. How do you know Evan will come here? She asked. Because I would. Joon-seok applied a transparent bandage to her cheek. If someone had the power to destroy everything I built, I wouldn't wait for morning. His face was inches from hers as he worked. This close, she could see details she'd missed before, a small scar near his right eyebrow, the perfect knot in his tie, the steady way he breathed. Nothing about him seemed rushed or uncertain. Why do you care if he hurts me? Danielle asked. You have the contract. You get what you want either way. Joon-seok paused, bandage in hand. Dead witnesses can't testify, Ms. Marrow. Danielle, she corrected automatically. Danielle. He resumed treating the burn on her neck. And contrary to what you might think, I don't make a habit of letting people get hurt. Just when it's profitable. His hands stilled for a fraction of a second. Yes. At least he didn't lie. There was something strangely reassuring about his honesty, even when it was brutal. Why do you care if I trust you? She asked. Because, Joon-seok said, not looking up from the bandage, I need you sharp. Not broken. He finished applying the last bandage, then stepped back to examine his work. His eyes moved clinically over her face, but there was something else there too, something that might have been guilt in anyone else. The burns will heal completely, he said. No scarring. How convenient for you, Danielle replied, but there was less bite in her words than she intended. Joon-seok packed up the medical supplies. I'll have food delivered. You shouldn't go out tonight. I'm a prisoner in my own apartment. You're a protected witness. He checked his watch. I have meetings until midnight. Baron stays here. The dog had already taken up position by the front door, lying down with his head up, alert. What if I need to reach you? Danielle asked. Joon-seok handed her a small black phone. Burner. One number programmed. Mine. Burner phones? Seriously? Evan has access to your phone records. His voice was matter-of-fact. The less he knows, the safer you are. The reality of her situation settled over Danielle like a heavy blanket. This wasn't a movie. This was her life now, hiding in her apartment with an attack dog while her ex-husband posted bail and a billionaire used her for corporate warfare. Joon-seok moved toward the door. Lock it behind me. 3 locks. Wait. Danielle followed him. How do you know so much about Evan? About me? He paused, hand on the doorknob. That's a longer conversation. One we'll have tomorrow when you give me the encryption keys. Before she could press him further, he was gone. She locked the door, all 3 locks, and leaned against it, exhaling slowly. Baron watched her, head tilted slightly. Don't judge me, she told the dog. Your boss isn't exactly Prince Charming. The Malinois blinked, unimpressed. Danielle sank onto her couch, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. The burner phone sat heavy in her hand. One button. One lifeline to a man who had used her pain as a business strategy. Her regular phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from an unknown number. You made a mistake today. Her heart stuttered. Evan. Another text came through. He can't protect you forever. Danielle's hands trembled as she set the phone down. She glanced at Baron, who hadn't moved from his position by the door. Can you really stop him? She whispered. As if in answer, Baron's ears suddenly perked up. His body tensed, head swiveling toward the door. Someone was in the hallway. Baron's growl rumbled low in his chest. Someone was definitely in the hallway. Danielle froze, eyes locked on her apartment door. The handle didn't move, but she heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, stopping right outside. A soft thud against the door. Something sliding to the floor. Then the footsteps retreated. Baron stayed tense, ears forward, until the elevator dinged at the end of the hall. Only then did he relax slightly, though he remained at attention. Danielle waited 5 full minutes before approaching the door. She looked through the peephole, empty hallway. Heart hammering, she unlocked the first lock. Then the second. Baron watched, unblinking. She cracked the door open an inch. On the floor lay a manila envelope with her name scrawled across it. Baron sniffed it, then backed away. Not a bomb at least. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note, the keys or the truth about your father. Your choice. E. Sleep didn't come that night. Morning arrived with the relentless buzz of her phone. Text after text. Missed calls. Voicemails. Danielle squinted at the screen, head pounding from exhaustion. 27 notifications. All from people she hadn't heard from in months. The first text was from her sister. Is that video real? Please call me. Video? Baron still guarded the door, alert despite the all-night vigil. He watched as Danielle fumbled with her laptop, fingers shaking as she pulled up social media. It hit her like a second burn. The coffee shop incident had gone viral overnight. But not the real version, an edited clip starting with Danielle standing up, finger pointing at Evan, her voice raised. Then him defending himself by throwing coffee after she lunged at him. The hashtag made her stomach drop, #AngryBlackWoman. Thousands of comments. Hundreds of thousands of views. News sites picking it up. Evan's family PR team working overtime. Entitled Ex-Wife Attacks Pharmaceutical Heir. Woman Assaults Ex-Husband, Gets Taken Down by Security Dog. Caldwell heir defends himself against aggressive ex. Her phone kept buzzing. Coworkers. Friends. People she hadn't talked to since college. Everyone had seen it. Danielle's hands shook as she grabbed the burner phone. One button. She pressed it. Joon-seok answered on the first ring. Yes. The video. Her voice cracked. They edited it. They're making me look. I know, he cut her off. I've seen it. You need to release the real footage. She paced her living room, Baron's eyes tracking her movement. The cafe had security cameras. Your men were recording. You have proof of what really happened. A pause. Not yet. What do you mean, not yet? Caldwell Pharmaceutical stock dropped 12 points this morning, Joon-seok said, his voice clinical. The acquisition price decreases with every percentage drop. If we release the real footage now, the stock stabilizes. The realization hit her like ice water. You're using this. You're letting them destroy my reputation to save money on your purchase. The truth will come out, he replied. After I buy the company. And when is that? 48 hours. Danielle laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. 2 days. You expect me to just sit here while the internet calls me a violent, angry black woman for 2 days? I've arranged for a security detail outside your building. He wasn't even addressing her real concern. Don't leave your apartment. Reporters are already gathering downstairs. Through her window, Danielle could see them, news vans, cameras, people with microphones. She was trapped. I can't believe you're doing this, she whispered. This is business, Danielle. His voice softened fractionally. The end result is the same. Evan loses everything. You get justice. Justice? She gripped the phone tighter. You think this is justice? Everyone I know thinks I'm a liar. A violent, unstable liar. For once, Joon-seok didn't have an immediate answer. I'll send groceries, he finally said. And the contract for your review. Baron stays until the acquisition is complete. He hung up before she could respond. Danielle threw the burner phone onto the couch and buried her face in her hands, then winced as her fingers brushed against the bandaged burn. Her regular phone kept buzzing. She turned it off. Outside, a reporter shouted her name, trying to get her attention through the window. She yanked the curtains closed. By afternoon, she'd stopped checking the news. It only got worse. Evan had given an exclusive interview, his arm in a dramatic sling where Baron had bitten him. He spoke with practiced sadness about her mental health struggles, and how he only wanted to help her. The doorman called up. Ms. Marrow? There's a delivery for you. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. Baron tensed, then relaxed as a familiar scent reached him. Danielle checked the peephole. Joon-seok stood outside, holding several shopping bags. She didn't open the door. Go away, she called through the wood. You need to eat, he replied. Matter of fact as always. I need my life back. Silence. Then, Danielle. Open the door. Something in his voice made her hesitate. She unlocked it, one lock, not all three, and pulled it open a few inches, chain still in place. Joon-seok looked different. His suit was still impeccable, but there were shadows under his eyes. The grocery bags hung from one hand, legal documents from the other. May I come in? He asked. Almost polite. Why should I let you in? She didn't move to unlock the chain. You're using me. You're letting them crucify me to save a few million on your billion-dollar deal. He met her eyes directly. Yes, he said simply. I am. The honesty startled her. That's your defense? Yes, I'm using you. I don't lie, Danielle. His voice remained steady. Not to you. The strange thing was, she believed him. He was ruthless and calculating, but he hadn't lied once. Not about his intentions, not about the risks, not about using her pain to get what he wanted. She closed the door, unhooked the chain, and opened it fully. Get out, Danielle said. But she took the groceries from his hand. Baron stayed by her door, watching Joon-seok walk back to the elevator. The Malinois didn't follow his master. At least someone was keeping their promise. Darkness settled over Crown Heights. Rain drummed against Danielle's windows, a steady, relentless beat that matched her mood. She hadn't eaten much of the food Joon-seok brought. Couldn't stomach it. The burner phone sat untouched on her coffee table. Her regular phone remained off. The internet could burn without her watching. Baron hadn't left his post by the door, though he'd accepted the bowl of water she'd placed nearby. His dedication was impressive. More than she could say for his owner. The clock on her microwave read 11:16 p.m. when the knock came, 3 soft taps. Baron's ears perked up, but he didn't growl. He recognized whoever was outside. Danielle peered through the peephole. Joon-seok stood in the hallway, soaking wet. His perfect suit clung to his frame, water dripping onto the carpet. His hair, usually styled immaculately, hung in his eyes. He looked nothing like the controlled CEO who had left hours earlier. She hesitated, then unlocked the door. What happened to you? The question came out before she could stop herself. Joon-seok stepped inside, water pooling beneath his expensive shoes. I walked. You walked? In this? She gestured at his drenched state. Where's your driver? I needed to think. He ran a hand through his wet hair, pushing it back from his face. The gesture was strangely human. May I use your bathroom? I'll ruin your floors. Danielle pointed down the hall, watching as he made his way to her small bathroom. Baron greeted him with a nudge to his hand, then returned to his post by the door. 10 minutes later, Joon-seok emerged looking marginally less drowned. His suit jacket and tie were gone, white shirt untucked and still damp in places. He'd rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with lean muscle. Without his armor of tailored wool and silk, he looked younger. Less invincible. I owe you an apology, he said, standing awkwardly in her hallway. Danielle crossed her arms. For which part? Letting me get burned? Or letting the internet destroy me? The media strategy was wrong. He didn't look away from her gaze. I underestimated the collateral damage. Collateral damage. She shook her head. Is that what I am to you? No. The word came out sharper than she expected. You were never collateral. Something had changed. His usual calculated tone was gone, replaced by something rawer. Then what am I? She pressed. Joon-seok walked to her window, looking out at the rain. For a long moment, he said nothing. When he turned back, his face had softened. I was 10 when my mother lost her job, he said, the abrupt shift in topic catching Danielle off guard. She was a housekeeper for the Kim family, old money, big pharmaceutical company. He leaned against the windowsill. They accused her of stealing food. She was, but only leftovers they would have thrown away. Food she was saving for me. Danielle sat on the arm of her couch, watching him. They fired her without severance, he continued. We had nothing. I watched my mother bow and beg for what she'd earned. His jaw tightened. That's when I learned the most important lesson in business. Everyone is expendable until they make themselves essential. And that's what you did, Danielle said quietly. Made yourself essential. Yes. He met her eyes. That's what you're doing too. The comparison startled her. I'm not like you. Aren't you? A hint of a smile touched his lips. You demanded 10% when I offered 5%. You recognized leverage and used it. Most people in your position would have taken whatever was offered, grateful for any help. He wasn't wrong. She had negotiated instead of accepted. Calculated instead of collapsed. You made me expendable, she said, the hurt still fresh. No, he replied, voice softening. I made you essential. There's a difference. The rain intensified, hammering against the windows. They stood in silence, separated by 10 feet and worlds of experience. The stock dropped another 8 points this afternoon, Joon-seok finally said. I'm releasing the real footage tomorrow morning. Not when I buy the company. Tomorrow. Danielle's breath caught. Why the change of heart? He looked down at his hands. It wasn't a hard decision. Then what? You were right. He said it simply, no defensiveness. Justice delayed isn't justice. It's just another form of control. I became what I despise. The admission hung in the air between them. Danielle stepped closer, until she could see the water droplets still clinging to his eyelashes. Thank you, she said softly. They stood close now, too close for comfort, too far for what neither would admit they wanted. The air between them felt charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. Joon-seok's eyes dropped to the bandage on her cheek. How's the burn? Better. Her voice came out huskier than intended. Your medicine helped. His hand moved, hesitated, then gently touched the edge of the bandage. His fingers were cool against her skin. I never meant for you to be hurt, he said quietly. Yes, you did. She didn't pull away from his touch. You just didn't expect to care about it afterward. Look, I know what you're thinking. Is she really going to fall for the guy who let her get hurt? But here's the thing about real life, it's messy. People aren't all good or all bad. They're complicated. And sometimes the person who hurts you is the only one who can protect you. If you're invested in seeing where this impossible situation goes, hit that subscribe button because it's about to get a whole lot more complicated. Baron suddenly stood up, growl building in his throat. Both Joon-seok and Danielle turned toward the window. A black sedan crawled past her building. Second time in the last hour. Same car, different driver. Joon-seok's phone buzzed. He checked it, his face immediately hardening back into the mask she recognized. Evan's not in jail, he said, eyes still tracking the car. His lawyers got him out. The black sedan disappeared around the corner, then reappeared from the opposite direction. Circling. Hunting. We need to leave, Joon-seok said, already moving toward the door. Now. Danielle grabbed her purse. Why? The doors are locked. Baron's here. We're safe. The crash from downstairs answered her question. Glass shattering. Metal bending. Shouts. Joon-seok's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. They rammed the security gate. Baron's growl deepened, his body tense as footsteps pounded up the stairwell. Multiple sets. Fire escape, Joon-seok said, grabbing Danielle's arm. Is it accessible from your bedroom? She nodded, already moving. Window opens onto the platform. The pounding grew louder. Someone was coming up the stairs, not bothering with the elevator. Not trying to be quiet. Danielle. Evan's voice echoed up the stairwell. Unhinged. Desperate. I know you're in there. Baron positioned himself between them and the door as Joon-seok pulled Danielle into the bedroom. The window stuck for a terrifying moment, then slid open with a screech. Go, Joon-seok ordered. Baron, Teraoda. The dog shot through the window first, landing silently on the metal platform. Danielle followed, the rusty fire escape swaying slightly under her weight. Joon-seok came last, pulling the window closed behind them. They were 3 floors up, the alley below dark and narrow. Rain had stopped, but the metal was still slick. A crash from inside her apartment. The door giving way. Move, Joon-seok whispered. They descended as quietly as possible, Baron leading the way. The dog's claws clicked softly against metal, the only sound betraying their escape. They reached the bottom ladder. Joon-seok dropped down first, then helped Danielle. Baron jumped gracefully, landing beside them in the alley. Which way? Joon-seok asked, his breath visible in the cold night air. Danielle oriented herself. This way. There's a 24-hour bodega 2 blocks over. Side streets will be faster. She led them through a narrow passage between buildings, grateful for the darkness. Above them, a shout, Evan or one of his men had found the open window. They'll split up, Joon-seok said, voice low as they emerged onto a quiet street. One group down the fire escape, another back through the building. We have maybe 2 minutes. Danielle glanced back at her building, then turned left down a side street lined with parked cars and chain-link fences. There's an alley behind these houses, she said. Local shortcut. Cuts through to Bergen. Joon-seok nodded, following her lead. Baron stayed close, ears constantly swiveling, monitoring their surroundings. The shortcut was barely visible, a gap between fences that opened into a narrow dirt path between backyards. Danielle ducked through without hesitation. Growing up in this neighborhood had its advantages. How did he find us? She whispered as they hurried along the dark path. Your phone, Joon-seok replied. The one you turned off. Even power down, some models can be tracked if you know how. Danielle cursed under her breath. She should have removed the battery. A shout from behind them. Flashlight beams swept across the houses. Run, Joon-seok said. They broke into a sprint, Baron leading the charge. The path opened onto Bergen Street, empty at this hour except for a man walking his dog, who quickly crossed to avoid them. The bodega? Joon-seok asked. Danielle shook her head, breathing hard. Too obvious. This way. She led them down another side street, then through an apartment complex parking lot. Her lungs burned, the cold air painful with each breath. The burn on her face throbbed in time with her racing heartbeat. Voices behind them. Getting closer. Here, she gasped, pointing to a multi-level parking garage. We can lose them inside. The garage was dimly lit, mostly empty at this hour. Their footsteps echoed on concrete as they ran up the ramp to the second level. Baron suddenly stopped, hackles raised. A car engine rumbled from the level above them. Too late, Danielle realized her mistake. The garage had only one exit. Headlights appeared at the top of the ramp, blinding them. A black SUV, not the sedan from earlier, blocked their path forward. The vehicle behind them cut off retreat. Trapped. Evan stepped out of the SUV, a wild smile stretching across his face. 2 men flanked him, security types, bulky and professional. Ex-military, based on their haircuts and stance. Danny, he called, voice echoing in the concrete space. Always so predictable. You took this same shortcut walking home from school. Baron growled, positioning himself in front of Danielle. Joon-seok moved slightly to her left, angling his body to shield her. Mr. Caldwell, Joon-seok said, his voice eerily calm. This is a poor decision on your part. Evan laughed, the sound bouncing off the walls. Says the man cornered in a parking garage. He pulled something from his jacket. Not a gun, a manila envelope. The same one from that morning. You know what this is, Danny. He held it up. The truth about Daddy Dearest. How he took payoffs from Caldwell Pharmaceutical for years. How he helped my father hide the bad drug trials. How people died because of him. Danielle felt the blood drain from her face. You're lying. Am I? Evan tossed the envelope onto the concrete between them. Photos spilled out, her father shaking hands with Evan's father. Documents with her father's signature. Bank statements. Your father was as corrupt as mine, Evan said. The difference is, my father didn't drink himself to death from guilt. The world tilted under Danielle's feet. Her father, the man she'd idolized, the reason she became an accountant, the memory she'd been trying to protect, was part of the fraud. Everything she'd been fighting for was built on a lie. Help me make this go away, Evan continued, voice softening to the manipulative tone she knew too well. Give me the encryption keys. Come home. We can fix this together. Danielle stared at the photos, unable to move, unable to think. The foundation of her life was crumbling. Joon-seok could use this. He could pressure her. Blackmail her with her father's sins. Instead, he stepped forward. The only thing getting destroyed tonight is your kneecap if you don't back away from her, Joon-seok said, voice deadly quiet. Evan's smile faltered. You think I'm afraid of you? Or your dog? You should be. Joon-seok's hand moved to his waistband. Before either man could act, sirens wailed in the distance. Growing closer. One of Evan's men leaned out the car window. Boss, we gotta go. Someone called it in. Evan's face twisted with rage. He pointed at Danielle. This isn't over. Your father was guilty. You're protecting a dead man's crimes. He jumped back into the SUV. The engine roared as it reversed down the ramp, tires squealing. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights flashed at the garage entrance. Joon-seok quickly gathered the scattered photos, stuffing them back into the envelope. He handed it to Danielle without looking inside. Your choice what to do with these, he said quietly. Baron pressed against her leg, a warm, solid presence in the cold garage. The police car pulled into the garage entrance. Too late to catch Evan, but just in time to find them. Danielle clutched the envelope to her chest, the weight of its contents heavier than paper had any right to be. The ballroom of the Pierre Hotel gleamed with crystal chandeliers and old money. Staff in black uniforms arranged centerpieces on tables draped in white silk. A stage at the front displayed the Caldwell Pharmaceutical logo, a stylized blue C that had appeared on medication bottles for 3 generations. Danielle stood in the empty ballroom, memorizing exits, staff positions, and security cameras. In a few hours, the room would fill with investors, board members, and pharmaceutical executives celebrating a merger that wasn't going to happen. The real footage is everywhere now, Joon-seok said, walking the perimeter with her. 23 million views in 36 hours. The unedited video of Evan's coffee attack had hit the internet yesterday morning, just as Joon-seok promised. Hashtag Justice for Danielle was trending. The press had pivoted overnight, painting Evan as the villain and Danielle as the victim. But she didn't feel like a victim anymore. Where will Evan be sitting? She asked, all business. Front table, near the stage. Joon-seok pointed. His father will announce the merger at 9:15. I'll interrupt at 9:20. You'll upload the files at 9:19. The plan was simple. Joon-seok had already purchased Caldwell Pharmaceutical through a shell company, but it wasn't public knowledge yet. Tonight, they would reveal both the acquisition and the fraud, simultaneously destroying Evan's family legacy and his freedom. What if he doesn't show? Danielle asked. He'll show. Joon-seok's voice was certain. His father demanded it. The family needs to present a united front after the video scandal. They walked through the kitchen, noting staff positions and camera blind spots. 2 of Joon-seok's security team were already in place, posing as waiters. Baron had been left at Joon-seok's penthouse, no dogs allowed at the gala, even tactical ones. If anything goes wrong, you exit through the kitchen, Joon-seok instructed. Car will be waiting in the service alley. Danielle nodded, committing the route to memory. And Evan's father? FBI takes him into custody the moment I finish speaking. Joon-seok checked his watch. 4 hours until guests arrive. We should go. They took the service elevator down to the parking garage where Joon-seok's driver waited. The ride back to his penthouse was silent, both lost in thought about what was coming. The manila envelope sat untouched on Joon-seok's coffee table. Danielle hadn't opened it since that night in the garage. Couldn't bring herself to look at the evidence of her father's betrayal. You don't have to keep it, Joon-seok said, watching her stare at the envelope. I can destroy it. Have you looked at what's inside? She asked. No. His answer came without hesitation. It's not my business. Danielle looked up at him, surprised. Everything is your business. You research everyone. You knew about my marriage, my job, my father. You have files on everyone. Yes. Joon-seok sat beside her on the couch. Close, but not touching. But your father's choices don't define you, Danielle. Whatever is in that envelope doesn't change what you're doing now. She studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or calculation. Found none. Why are you being kind to me? She asked. Joon-seok considered the question, his usual mask of control slipping. I'm not sure, he admitted. It's inefficient. A laugh escaped her, unexpected and genuine. Inefficient. That might be the most honest thing you've ever said to me. His lips curved into a small smile. The most real expression she'd seen on his face. Danielle touched the fading burn on her cheek. The skin was healing, still pink, but no longer painful. Like her heart. I don't forgive you, she said quietly. For letting him hurt me. For calculating my pain. I know. He didn't look away. But I trust you. The admission surprised even her. I shouldn't, but I do. She leaned forward and pressed her lips against his. Not gentle, not romantic, desperate, confused, charged with the adrenaline of the past days. Her hand gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then his hand found her waist, steadying her as he kissed her back with equal intensity. No pretense, no calculation, just raw need and something dangerously close to vulnerability. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, neither spoke. What could they say? This wasn't love. It wasn't even simple attraction. It was survival and alliance and shared purpose twisted into something neither of them had planned for. We should go through the plan again, Joon-seok said finally, voice rougher than usual. Danielle nodded, putting space between them on the couch. I upload the files from the back office computer at 9:19. You interrupt the announcement at 9:20. Security moves in at 9:25. If Evan approaches you, I stay in public view at all times. She had memorized this part. I don't go anywhere alone with him. Joon-seok stood and walked to the window overlooking Central Park. Evening shadows stretched across the trees. After tonight, he said, you'll be free. The words hung in the air. Free from Evan. Free from the fear. But what about free from Joon-seok? Was that part of the plan too? What about you? Danielle asked. He didn't answer. The elevator doors opened, and one of Joon-seok's security team entered with Baron. The dog immediately went to Danielle, pressing against her legs before sitting protectively beside her. He's been restless all day, the handler reported. Wouldn't eat. Joon-seok frowned. Did you take him to the vet? Nothing physically wrong, the man replied. He just keeps watching the door. Baron's ears remained perked, his body tense despite the calm surroundings. The dog sensed something they couldn't. Maybe he just missed me, Danielle said, scratching behind the Malinois' ears. Baron whined softly, pressing closer to her side. Joon-seok watched them with an unreadable expression. "Get changed," he said. "We leave in an hour." As Danielle headed to the guest bedroom where her gala dress waited, she glanced back. Joon-seok stood silhouetted against the window, Baron at his side. For a moment, they looked like something from another world, dangerous and beautiful. Tonight would end one chapter of her life. But what came next? Across town, in a shabby apartment rented under a false name, Evan Caldwell finished assembling the gun. The plastic parts had come from a 3D printer in a Brooklyn makerspace. Untraceable. The metal components bought separately with cash. He loaded it with shaking hands. On the wall, photos of Danielle and Joon-seok entering the Pierre Hotel earlier that day. Surveillance shots taken by the private investigator he'd hired with the last of his liquid cash. Tonight, he would lose everything: his name, his company, his freedom. Unless he acted first. Evan tucked the gun into his jacket pocket. The weight of it felt like salvation. The ballroom of the Pierre Hotel hummed with expensive conversations. Men in tuxedos and women dripping in diamonds circulated beneath crystal chandeliers, champagne flutes in hand. Investors, board members, pharmaceutical executives, all gathered to celebrate a merger they didn't know was already dead. Danielle stood near the bar, nursing a sparkling water. Her black gown was simple but elegant, a stark contrast to the flashier outfits around her. The tactical pen Joon-seok had given her rested in her clutch, a precaution she'd hoped not to need. 9:08 p.m. 11 minutes until she needed to upload the files. "You look beautiful," Joon-seok said, appearing at her side. His black tuxedo fit him perfectly, making him look even more untouchable than usual. "I look nervous," she corrected. "No one else can tell." He handed her a fresh glass of water. Evan just arrived. Back in trance with his father. Danielle fought the urge to turn around. "Is everything in place?" "Yes. FBI agents are positioned as waitstaff. My security team is at each exit." Joon-seok's voice was calm, but something in his eyes had changed. A tension she hadn't seen before. "The office computer is ready for the upload." 9:12 p.m. "I should head back," Danielle said. Joon-seok nodded. "I'll be watching." She made her way through the crowd toward the hallway leading to the offices. No one paid attention to her, just another guest heading to the restroom. Perfect. The back office was empty, just as planned. The computer hummed softly, already logged into the company's presentation system. Danielle pulled the encrypted drive from her clutch and plugged it in. 9:16 p.m. She entered the decryption key from memory, a string of numbers and letters representing her father's birthday and her mother's maiden name. A small tribute to the man she'd thought she knew. Files appeared on screen. Financial records. Trial results. Emails. The complete evidence of 3 generations of Caldwell fraud. She selected all and hit upload. 9:19 p.m. On stage, Walter Caldwell, Evan's father, tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." Danielle slipped out of the office, heart pounding. In the hallway, she checked her phone. Text from Joon-seok, uploaded. Moving to position. She took a deep breath and started back toward the ballroom. One more minute and it would all be over. A hand grabbed her arm, yanking her into a service corridor. "Evan." "Hello, Danny." His smile was wrong, too wide, too manic. "Going somewhere important?" Her blood turned to ice. "Let go of me, Evan." "I don't think so." His grip tightened. He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, suit wrinkled. He'd been drinking. "We're going to have a private conversation." From the ballroom, she heard Walter Caldwell's voice. "Pleased to announce our merger with." Then Joon-seok's voice, cutting through. I'm afraid there's been a change of plans. The presentation was starting. The trap was springing. But she wasn't there to see it. Move, Evan hissed, pushing her toward a service elevator. Danielle weighed her options. Scream? He'd hurt her before security arrived. Run? Not in these heels, not in this narrow hallway. The tactical pen was in her clutch, but she couldn't reach it with his grip on her arm. She went with him. For now. The service elevator opened onto the rooftop terrace. It was deserted, too cold for guests to enjoy the view. The Manhattan skyline glittered around them, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Evan released her arm, blocking the elevator door. You think you're so smart. It's over, Evan. Danielle stepped away from him, creating distance. The real files are being displayed right now. The FBI is downstairs. I know. He laughed, an ugly, broken sound. My father's going to jail. The company's gone. Everything my family built for 3 generations, destroyed in 10 minutes. His hand went to his jacket pocket. Danielle tensed. You know what's funny, Danny? Evan pulled out the gun, small, partly plastic, deadly. Your new boyfriend? He's been watching you for 2 years. The world tilted beneath her. What are you talking about? Park. Evan spat the name. He's had people following you since before our marriage fell apart. This whole thing, the coffee shop, the dog, the rescue, he orchestrated all of it. You're lying. But doubt crept in. Joon-seok had known too much, been too prepared. Am I? Evan's smile widened. Ask him about Project Marrow. That's what his team called it. The long game to get to our company through you. Danielle's phone buzzed in her clutch. Joon-seok, looking for her. Her fingers inched toward the clasp. He doesn't care about you, Danny. Evan stepped closer, gun wavering. You're just a means to an end. Same as me. So what now? Danielle asked, buying time as her fingers found the tactical pen. You shoot me? Then what? Then I shoot myself. His voice was eerily calm. Murder-suicide. Tragic end to a tragic story. Your boyfriend loses his prize. Below, commotion. Raised voices. The plan unraveling without her. The company's already his, Evan, she said. Killing me won't change that. No. Evan's face twisted. But it'll hurt him. He'll know he lost. Danielle's phone buzzed again. She slowly opened her clutch. Let me show you something first. She pulled out her phone, thumbs flying across the screen. Not reading the message, sending one. 3 words, rooftop. Evan. Gun. What are you doing? Evan lunged forward, grabbing for the phone. Danielle backpedaled, dropping the phone but keeping hold of the pen. Nothing. Nothing. The elevator dinged. Evan spun around, gun raised, as Joon-seok stepped onto the rooftop. Alone. Park, Evan snarled. Just in time to watch the show. Joon-seok's eyes found Danielle's, then moved to the gun. Caldwell. Put it down. Or what? Your dog's not here to save you this time. This is between us, Joon-seok said, stepping forward. Let her go. Evan laughed. I told her about Project Marrow. Your 2-year surveillance. How you used her to get to me. Joon-seok didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. His eyes stayed locked on Evan's gun. Everything's gone, Evan continued, voice rising. My name. My company. Might as well take your prize too. He swung the gun toward Danielle. Joon-seok moved faster than Danielle thought possible. He lunged forward, throwing himself into Evan's space just as the gun fired. The sound was deafening in the open air. Joon-seok staggered, clutching his shoulder. Blood spread across his white shirt, turning it crimson. But he didn't fall. He kept moving forward, grabbing Evan's wrist. Danielle didn't freeze. Didn't scream. She uncapped the tactical pen and drove it into Evan's thigh with all her strength. Evan howled, his leg buckling. The gun clattered to the ground. Joon-seok kicked it away, then delivered a brutal strike to Evan's jaw that dropped him unconscious to the rooftop. Silence fell. Just their heavy breathing and the distant wail of sirens. Joon-seok swayed on his feet, hand pressed to his bleeding shoulder. His face was pale, eyes glassy. "Are you okay?" he asked Danielle. She stared at him in disbelief. "You're shot and you're asking if I'm okay?" "Yes." A small, pained smile. "Priorities." Danielle moved to his side, helping him sit before he collapsed. Blood seeped between his fingers. "Is it true?" she asked, tearing a strip from her dress to press against his wound. "Project Marrow? 2 years of surveillance?" Joon-seok met her eyes. No calculation now. No mask. Just raw honesty and pain. "Yes," he said simply. "I'll explain everything. But not now." The rooftop door burst open. FBI agents flooded out, weapons drawn. Baron somehow among them, breaking protocol, racing to Danielle's side. As they loaded Joon-seok onto a stretcher, he reached for her hand. His fingers were cold, slick with blood. "We won, Danielle," he whispered. "You're free." But in his eyes, she saw the truth. This wasn't freedom. It was just the beginning of a different kind of cage. Mount Sinai Hospital buzzed with quiet efficiency. Danielle sat in an uncomfortable chair beside Joon-seok's bed, watching him sleep. The bullet had missed anything vital, but he'd lost a lot of blood. The doctors called it luck. Danielle wasn't sure what to call it. Evan was in custody, denied bail. His father too. The Caldwell empire was crumbling, board members scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. Just as Joon-seok had planned. Baron lay at Danielle's feet, unwilling to leave either of them. The hospital had made an exception for the service dog, after Joon-seok's security team pulled some strings. She'd spent the past week in a daze, giving statements to the FBI, watching news coverage of the Caldwell arrest, fielding interview requests she had no intention of accepting. Through it all, a question burned in her mind. Project Marrow. The hospital room door opened. Joon-seok's assistant, Min-ji, entered with a stack of documents. "Ms. Marrow." The woman bowed slightly. "These need Mr. Park's signature for the transition. The office is ready for your inspection whenever you're available." "Thank you." Danielle took the papers. "I'll make sure he sees them when he wakes up." Min-ji hesitated, then placed a small USB drive on the side table. "He also asked me to give you this. His personal files." She lowered her voice. Project Marrow. Ice spread through Danielle's veins. "He told you to give me this?" "Yes. He said you'd ask for it eventually." Min-ji bowed again and left, her expression unreadable. Danielle stared at the small drive. Everything she wanted to know, and probably things she didn't, contained in that tiny piece of plastic. Baron whined softly, sensing her distress. "It's okay, boy." She scratched behind his ears. "We're just learning who your master really is." Joon-seok stirred, eyes opening slowly. He focused on her face, then the drive on the table. "Min-ji," he said, voice rough from sleep. "Always efficient. 2 years." Danielle didn't touch the drive. You've been watching me for 2 years. Joon-seok didn't deny it. Didn't look away. Yes. Why? He adjusted the bed to sit up, wincing as the movement pulled at his shoulder. The Caldwells destroyed my mother. I needed access to their company records. You were their vulnerability. I was their accountant, she corrected. Not their vulnerability. You were both. His eyes held hers. You had ethics. Principles. A line you wouldn't cross. That made you dangerous to them. So you decided to use me instead. The pieces were falling into place. The coffee shop wasn't a coincidence. You engineered the whole thing. Joon-seok sighed. Not the attack itself. But the location, yes. I made sure I was there. I knew Evan was unstable, that he'd likely lash out if pushed. You let me get hurt. The betrayal stung fresh again. Yes. No excuses. Just truth. I needed leverage over him. And freedom for you. Danielle laughed bitterly. My hero. I never claimed to be a hero, Danielle. His voice softened. Just a man with a plan. A plan that changed. When? When you demanded 10% instead of 5%. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. When you didn't break. When you negotiated instead of begged. You weren't what I expected. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough to justify what he'd done. I'm going to your office, she said, standing abruptly. I need to see everything. All of it. Joon-seok nodded. Baron, Teraoda. The Malinois rose instantly, moving to Danielle's side. You're giving me your dog too? She asked. He chose you days ago. Joon-seok closed his eyes, exhaustion clear on his face. I just finally noticed. Joon-seok's office occupied the top floor of a sleek Manhattan tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of Central Park, the city spread out like a map of possibilities. His assistant had granted her full access. No restrictions. Another calculated move on Joon-seok's part, transparency as a form of apology. The file cabinet in the corner was unlocked. Third drawer down, a folder labeled Project Marrow, Year 1. Danielle sat in Joon-seok's chair, Baron at her feet, and opened it. Photos spilled out. Danielle leaving work. Danielle and Evan at dinner. Danielle alone in a coffee shop. Surveillance reports. Personality assessments. Financial vulnerabilities. 2 years of her life, documented and analyzed by strangers. 2 years of being a pawn in someone else's game. She moved to Project Marrow, Year 2. More of the same, but with a shift in tone. Notes about her growing unhappiness in the marriage. Documentation of Evan's verbal abuse. Contingency plans if he became physically violent. The last entry was dated 3 months ago. Subject shows increasing independence from E. Caldwell. Continues refusing to sign fraudulent documents despite pressure. Potential direct approach timeline moved forward. It was cold. Clinical. Her entire life reduced to strategic value. Baron whined softly, resting his head on her knee. At least someone's concern seemed genuine. Her phone buzzed. A text from Joon-seok, "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she opened his computer. The password was already entered, more orchestrated transparency. She found the acquisition documents, confirming what she already knew. 10% ownership. Worth millions. Blood money. Manipulation money. But also freedom money. The intercom buzzed. Minji's voice, "Ms. Marrow? Mr. Park has checked himself out of the hospital. He's on his way up." Of course he was. 15 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Joon-seok stepped out, pale but standing. His arm was in a sling, his usual perfect suit replaced by casual clothes. He looked younger. More human. "You shouldn't be out of the hospital," Danielle said. "Probably not." He approached slowly, like someone approaching a wild animal. "But we need to finish this conversation." Danielle gestured to the open files. "I think these say everything." "No." Joon-seok sat in the chair across from his desk. "They tell you what I planned. Not what happened." "What's the difference?" "I didn't plan to care about you." The words fell between them, simple and devastating. That was inefficient. Baron moved to sit between them, watching them both. The surveillance was business, Joon-seok continued quietly. The planning, the strategy, all business. But the rest? He looked at her directly. That became personal. The rest? Danielle's voice was barely audible. "You mean the kiss? Saving my life?" "Yes." No hesitation. "And everything in between. The burns. The media. I made mistakes because I started to care. Truly care." Danielle stood, needing space. She walked to the window, looking out at the city. "I have all the power now," she said. "I could destroy you with these files. Corporate espionage. Stalking. Manipulation. You could." His reflection in the glass showed no fear. Only acceptance. "It would be justified. Or I could take my 10% and disappear. Never see you again. Also justified." She turned to face him. "Why did you save me on that roof? He was going to kill us both. You could have stayed downstairs." "Because you matter, Danielle." Simple words, simply said. More than the plan. More than the company. More than my own safety. She believed him. That was the worst part. Despite everything, she believed that part was real. Real love doesn't calculate the cost of protecting someone. It just protects them. Joon-seok learned that lesson too late, but maybe you won't. If this story made you think about the difference between being saved and being used, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away from someone who saved your life. Danielle gathered the files, straightening them back into folders. "I'm keeping the company shares," she said finally. "I'm keeping Baron." The dog's ears perked up at his name. "But I'm not keeping you." Something flickered in Joon-seok's eyes, pain, acceptance, understanding. "That's fair," he said softly. Danielle picked up her purse. "Maybe someday you'll understand the difference between love and leverage." She walked to the elevator, Baron at her heel. As the doors closed, she saw Joon-seok still sitting there, watching her leave. 6 months later, Danielle sat in her new office. The nonprofit she'd created with her pharmaceutical millions was helping victims of domestic violence start over, financially, legally, completely. Baron lay under her desk, his constant shadow. On the wall hung her father's photo, not erased, not worshipped. Just remembered, complexities and all. Her phone buzzed with a text. Joon-seok's number. It happened every few weeks, never pushing, never demanding. Just checking in. "I understand now." She almost deleted it without reading it twice. Almost. Instead, she set the phone down and looked out her window at the Brooklyn streets below. The future stretched before her, uncertain, complicated, but hers. Completely hers. And that was the most valuable freedom of all.